The public information meeting for a land use bylaw map amendment to rezone 3 properties located on Brooklyn Street, North Kentville. My name is Alice Jacob, and I'm a planner with the municipality of County of Kings. The purpose of the meeting is to inform the public about this application and to explain the planning policies that enable this application to occur, as well as to receive preliminary feedback from the public. No opinions have been formed on this application at the moment. We are at the very beginning of the process. The red circle on the map shows the approximate location of the property within the growth center of North Kentville, and the PIDs are 55047856 and 55472955 and 55473987. This is an aerial view of the subject properties. With regards to the area, this parcel, the largest one here, is around 2.63 acres. And the central parcel is around 20,172 square feet. And the smallest parcel here is around 2,429 square feet. So put together, it comes to a total of 3.1 acres. There are no existing buildings or structures on the subject properties. There was a residential dwelling on this parcel, which was demolished in 2023. The access to the subject properties is currently through Keddy Road, but this parcel here has a frontage on Brooklyn Street. The neighboring properties to the west and to the north are mostly residential dwellings, and to the east we have the Valley Regional Hospital, and to the west there is the town of Kentville. So the applicant purchased the property in 2023. The proposal is to build multi-unit dwellings on the subject properties. A total of 60 residential units are being proposed within the multi-unit dwellings. The property is located within a zone called the residential 1 and 2 unit R2 zone, and multi-unit dwellings are not a permitted use within the R2 zone. The properties will have to be rezoned to the residential multi-unit R4 zone in order to enable the proposed development. This is a rough sketch of the site plan. As we can see here, two multi-unit dwellings are being proposed. Each dwelling will have 30 units in it for a total of 60 residential units on the subject properties. The access to the dwellings will be from Brooklyn Street. The applicant has obtained an access permit from the Provincial Department of Public Works, which shows approval of this access from Brooklyn Street. With regards to land use and planning, the municipality is divided into various zones, and each zone permits a specific set of uses and also has a specific set of requirements. The subject properties and also the other properties within the neighborhood towards the west and to the north are located within a zone called the residential 1 and 2 unit R2 zone. The R2 zone permits a few residential uses, and it also permits a few non-residential uses. With regards to residential uses, it permits 1-unit dwellings, 2-unit dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, and also group dwellings. And these uses are also permitted within the proposed R4 zone. The R4 zone additionally also permits townhouses, multi-unit dwellings, and also residential facilities. So with regards to the maximum number of residential units that the applicant could build on the subject properties, with the current zoning, the applicant could build around 68 units on the subject properties, a maximum of 68 units. And if it is rezoned to the R4, then the applicant could build around 76 units, a maximum of 76 units on the subject properties. However, the number of units that are currently being proposed is only 60 units. And going back to the zoning, to the east of the property, there is also the institutional I-1 zone. So this zone permits institutional uses like schools, fire halls, hospitals, and so on. So the Valley Regional Hospital is located within the zone, the I-1 zone. This is a future land use map of the area. As we can see here, the property, subject properties, and also the neighboring properties will continue to be in the residential designation in the future as well. Moving on to some of the photographs of the subject property and also subject properties and also the adjacent properties. So on top here is a key map for reference. So the image to the left is the neighboring residential dwelling to the west of the property, marked on the map in red. And to the image to the right is again the neighboring property to the west, marked on the map in yellow. So here the image to the left is the shows Caddy Road leading to the properties, leading to the subject properties. And the image to the right is the central area of the property marked in yellow on the map, which has been cleared of vegetation and also is being graded for construction. Here the image to the left is a neighboring property to the west marked on the map in red, which shows a residential dwelling and also a barn. And the image to the right is again the neighboring property to the north, which again has a residential dwelling. And on this slide, the image to the left is this area of the property, which exits to Caddy Road. And the image to the right is the west end of the property bordering the Valley Regional Hospital. Municipal planning strategy is our main policy document for planning. It is based on the policies of the municipal planning strategy that the land use bylaw regulations are developed. We also have policies within our municipal planning strategy that enable the rezoning of properties. So if a person wants to build or do something on their property that which is not permitted within a particular zone, they can maybe request a zone change. But this is only possible if it is enabled through a policy within our municipal planning strategy. So the policy that we see here on this slide is the policy that enables this rezoning. And the policy states, consider amendments to any one of the zoning maps of the land use bylaw, provided the application is for a specific development and is to rezone land to another zone enabled within the same designation, unless the zone change is specifically prohibited within the strategy. And this policy directs us to policy 3.1.3. And this is policy 3.1.3, which lists all zones that are enabled within the residential designation. And criteria A of the policy reads, all zones listed in policy 3.1.2 above. And this is policy 3.1.2. As we can see here, both residential multi-unit R4 zone and the residential 1 and 2 unit zone R2 zone are listed within this policy. As a result, council is able to consider this rezoning. So this is an additional policy that we consider for all rezoning applications. And so in order for staff to form a recommendation, we would need to check if the proposal meets the intent of this policy. So with regards to criteria A, we would check if it would be appropriate to place the proposed zone, which is the R4 zone in this case, on the subject properties, and if the intent of the proposed zone or the R4 zone is being met through this rezoning. And with regards to criteria B, we would compare the uses permitted within the current zone, which is the R2 zone, and the proposed zone R4 zone, to check if the impacts of the proposed development and the other permitted uses within the zones are acceptable. And with regards to criteria C, we would assess if the proposal meets the other criteria listed within our general policy. Here is the general policy. So most of the aspects listed within this policy are assessed by us, the municipality, but there are few aspects here that we will need help from other departments. So we will be contacting them for their input because they are the ones having jurisdiction over those matters. So with regards to the first criteria here, we will be checking if the proposal is consistent with the intent of the municipal planning strategy, and we will also be checking if the proposal is in conflict with any municipal or provincial programs, bylaws, or regulations. We would be checking if there would be any financial impact on the municipality because of the proposal, whether there would be any land use compatibility issues, and we will also be checking the adequacy and proximity of schools, recreation, and other community facilities. We will also be contacting the Department of Public Works to gather their input on the adequacy of road networks and to check if there would be any traffic hazard or congestion issues because of the proposal. And we will also be contacting the Kentville Fire Chief to gather their input on the adequacy of fire protection services. And we will also need to confirm if there is adequate sewer capacity to support the proposed development. We will also contact the town of Kentville to confirm the adequacy of water services for the proposed development. And finally, we will also be checking the potential for flooding or other serious drainage problems and whether the site would be suitable for the proposed development. And finally, in terms of our process, the first step is to receive a complete application, which we have received. The second step is a public information meeting, which is this meeting. The third step will be a staff review, where staff will review this application and prepare a staff report. And this report will then be presented to the Planning Advisory Committee for their recommendation. If the Planning Advisory Committee makes a positive recommendation to the Council, then Council will give a first reading to the application, and the Council will decide whether to forward it to a public hearing. If it is forwarded to a public hearing, the public hearing will be advertised in the local newspaper, and also properties within 500 feet will be notified about the public hearing. The public hearing is an opportunity for the public, members of the public, to come and share their opinions or concerns or feedback with the council. Soon after the public hearing, there will be a second reading. It is at this point the council will form a decision, and this decision will then be advertised in the local newspaper. So soon after the decision is advertised, a 14-day appeal period will begin, at which point anyone affected by council's decision can appeal. And with that, I conclude the presentation. Again, my name is Alice Jacob. So if you have any questions or concerns in the future, please feel free to get in touch with me. My number is 902-690-6276, or you can email me at ajacob, ajacob, at countyofkings.ca. Thank you.